Not every game is worth your hard-earned money. We've all felt that sting. But the Nintendo Switch has some absolute standouts that deliver big fun for every dollar. So let's dive into 30 games that truly earn their place on your shelf. Sometimes a game surprises you not with a big gimmick, but with how confidently it blends old school vibes with modern ideas. That's Absolum in a nutshell. It kicks off like a stylish arcade brawler, complete with chunky hits and expressive animations, but the deeper you go, the more it reveals this clever roguelite structure underneath. Each run branches in different directions, offering new areas, new choices, and new abilities that can completely change how your hero fights. One run might load you up with elemental attacks, while another leans into mobility and crowd control, and both feel equally fun to experiment with. What helps it shine is how alive every frame feels. The hand-drawn art gives the action this punchy, comic book energy that never gets old. Before long, you find yourself chasing new routes just to see what the game throws at you next, and that's where it really hooks you. There's something instantly charming about a platformer that hands you a yo-yo and basically says, good luck, try not to break anything. Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo leans into that playful spirit from the first moment. Your yo-yo is absurdly versatile. It's a weapon, a grappling hook, a movement tool, and occasionally a source of self-inflicted chaos if you get overconfident. Exploring the city becomes this satisfying loop of chaining tricks, discovering hidden passages, and meeting oddball characters tucked into every corner. The game's GBA-inspired look adds a nostalgic softness, while the level design encourages experimentation rather than strict one-way solutions. You start to see the world as a playground, where every ledge or rooftop could hide a clever shortcut. And once the yo-yo rhythm clicks, the mobility feels surprisingly smooth, almost stylish, in a way that makes wandering around half the joy of the adventure. Every once in a while, you boot up a Mario game and instantly remember why this series practically defines 3D platforming. The Galaxy titles are exactly that kind of moment. The second you start leaping between tiny planets, dodging shifting gravity, and watching Mario orbit a world like he's on some cosmic theme park ride, you realize you're in for something special. The sense of scale and imagination is wild. Each Galaxy feels like a bite-sized idea that Nintendo polished until it sparkled. Then Galaxy 2 swoops in and keeps the momentum going with even snappier level design, new gimmicks, and Yoshi sections that add a whole new layer of movement and mischief. What really sticks with you is how effortlessly these games blend whimsy with challenge. Nothing feels repetitive, and every few minutes the game hands you a new surprise just to make you grin. It's pure Nintendo creativity firing on all cylinders.
Two journeys across the cosmos come together as one.
There's something incredibly comforting about diving into an RPG that feels both nostalgic and brand new at the same time, and Star Ocean: The Second Story R nails that balance beautifully. It's a full remake of a classic PS1 era adventure, but instead of just modernizing the visuals, it introduces this gorgeous 2.5D style that blends pixel characters with lush environments. You choose between Claude or Rena, and that decision genuinely changes how the story unfolds, who you meet, and what secrets you uncover. The combat is fast and snappy, way more dynamic than you'd expect from something with retro roots, and the amount of optional content is honestly kind of ridiculous in the best way. Crafting, private actions, recruitable characters, the game is packed with systems that encourage tinkering and exploring. It's the kind of JRPG you can easily sink hours into without noticing the time slipping away.
If I can help it, we've got the hopes of the entire universe riding on our shoulders.
Every Metroidvania fan eventually hits that moment where someone says, you have to play Hollow Knight, and honestly, they're right. This game builds one of the most atmospheric, intricate worlds on the entire Switch, a fallen insect kingdom filled with quiet mysteries, hidden paths, and challenges that feel tough but fair. The thing that really makes it shine is how exploration slowly becomes second nature. You'll wander into an unfamiliar cavern, get your butt kicked by something awful, return later with a new ability, and suddenly the whole place opens up like a puzzle clicking into place. The combat has this crisp, satisfying rhythm, and the controls are tight enough that every victory feels earned. And the soundtrack? Moody perfection. It's one of those games where getting lost is part of the magic, and discovering a shortcut or secret room feels like your own private achievement. There's cozy RPG energy, and then there's Persona 4 Golden, a game that practically wraps you in a warm blanket made of friendship arcs, small-town mysteries, and catchy J-pop beats. You play as a transfer student in Inaba, a place that seems quiet until people start getting pulled into a bizarre TV world. Balancing daily life and dungeon crawling becomes the heart of the experience. One minute you're studying for exams or hanging out with friends, and the next you're battling shadows in surreal dreamscapes shaped by hidden fears. What elevates it is how genuinely likable the cast is. Spending time with them feels rewarding in a way few RPGs pull off. The social links, the humor, the emotional gut punches. It all blends into a story that sticks with you long after the credits roll. It's heartfelt, stylish, and surprisingly comforting for a murder mystery adventure. You ever jump into a platformer and instantly feel the devs saying, yeah, we know exactly what we're doing? That's Tropical Freeze. This game wastes zero time showing off just how polished and confident a Donkey Kong adventure can be. Every level feels handcrafted with layers of detail, shifting set pieces, clever enemy placements, and music that somehow makes everything feel even more energetic. The controls are tight and precise, the kind where every jump feels like it matters, but never in a frustrating way. And once Dixie or Cranky join the party, the movement becomes even more playful, giving you new ways to navigate each stage. What's fun is how varied the worlds are. One minute you're surfing through a fruit factory, the next you're dodging avalanches or bouncing through a savannah rhythm level. It's tough, satisfying, and bursting with personality in that classic retro studio style. There's a special kind of curiosity-driven joy that only certain indie games capture, and Animal Well absolutely nails it. The whole experience feels like wandering through a glowing, mysterious labyrinth where every room hides something strange. You're not handed explanations. Instead, you poke around, experiment with your tools, and slowly unravel how the world works. That sense of discovery is the game's superpower. Even a tiny collectible can lead to a massive, wait, what? Moment hours later. The art is minimalist, but surprisingly expressive, and the sounds give the underground world this eerie yet cozy vibe. What's really fun is how the puzzles stack, simple at first, then escalating into wildly clever multi-step solutions that make you feel like a genius when they click. It's the kind of game people love discussing because everyone uncovers things differently, and that mystery is half the magic. Some games are comforting. Chicory is comforting and creatively energizing in a way that sneaks up on you. Instead of giving you a sword or magic powers, it hands you a paintbrush and says, go make the world brighter. And somehow, that simple concept turns into one of the most heartfelt adventures on the Switch. You explore a world drained of color, restoring it by literally painting your surroundings. Doodles, patterns, whatever weird art mood you're in. The puzzles are clever without being stressful, and the characters feel genuinely warm and relatable, especially as the story dips into themes of self-doubt and artistic pressure. What makes it hit so hard is how the game encourages expression, even if you're bad at art. It's about trying, experimenting, and finding joy in the mess. By the end, your version of the world feels truly personal. Every now and then, you find a game that feels dangerously good at stealing hours from your life, and Slay the Spire is exactly that kind of trap. It looks simple on the surface, just cards, enemies, and branching paths, but once you start building a deck, the whole thing becomes this delicious mix of strategy and luck. Every card you add can completely reshape your run, and discovering broken combos is half the fun. One moment you're blocking and chipping away slowly, and the next you've created a ridiculous chain of attacks that wipes out bosses in seconds. The replay value is unreal. Each character has their own style, so switching between them keeps the game feeling fresh. And because the map changes every run, you're constantly making tiny choices that snowball into big, how did I get here moments. It's endlessly replayable in that just one more attempt way. It's rare for a game to feel peaceful and emotionally heavy at the same time, but Neva walks that line beautifully. Without spoiling too much, it follows a young woman and a magical creature as they travel through a fading world filled with danger and quiet beauty. What sticks with you is the bond between the two. It grows through animation, small moments, and wordless storytelling rather than traditional dialogue. The combat is simple but expressive, more about flowing with the movement than mastering complex systems. And the visuals? They look like a moving illustration, soft, painterly scenes mixed with moments of intensity. It's the sort of game that invites you to slow down and take in what's happening, even during tense sections. If you enjoy emotional journeys with a strong artistic voice, this one hits a surprisingly personal note. The first time you see Cuphead in motion, it almost doesn't look real. The 1930s cartoon animation is so smooth and authentic that it feels like you're playing a hand-drawn film. But beneath that charming exterior is one of the most tightly designed run-and-gun boss games out there. Each fight is its own little spectacle, full of pattern recognition, split-second dodges, and that classic one more try energy. What's cool is how readable everything becomes once you settle into the rhythm. At first it feels chaotic, then suddenly your brain starts understanding the dance. The shooting and movement feel incredibly crisp, and swapping weapons or charms lets you tailor your playstyle in fun ways. And yeah, it's challenging, but the kind of challenge that leaves you smiling even when you lose. Beating a tough boss here feels like a genuine badge of honor. There's a special kind of thrill that comes from a strategy game that feels both epic and approachable, and Unicorn Overlord hits that sweet spot immediately. Instead of overwhelming you with menus, it eases you into a massive tactical adventure where positioning, unit composition, and timing all matter. The world feels alive with political tension, scattered kingdoms, and characters who each bring something unique to your army. Battles play out in this fluid, almost chess-like rhythm where a single decision can flip the momentum. And because you're constantly recruiting new allies, experimenting with classes becomes a fun little obsession, mixing knights, mages, archers, and wild hybrids until you find combos that feel unstoppable. The art style has that signature Vanillaware warmth and detail, turning even small encounters into tiny illustrations. It's the kind of strategy game that pulls you in without you realizing how deep you've gone.
We shall never fail!
Did you really think we'd let these atrocities go unpunished?
Every longtime Sonic fan knows the feeling, hoping for that perfect mix of speed, momentum, and old-school charm. Sonic Mania Plus delivers exactly that, and then goes a step further by feeling like the sequel we always imagined back on the Genesis. The levels blend familiar layouts with brand new twists, so you get that rush of nostalgia without ever feeling like you're retreading the same ground. What makes it sing is how naturally everything flows once you find your groove. Dashing through loops, bouncing off springs, and chaining mid-air tricks feels buttery smooth. The added characters in the Plus version give the game even more replay value, especially with their unique movement abilities. It's vibrant, fast, and full of tiny details that show how much love went into the project. If you've missed the feeling of a Sonic game that truly understands speed, this one scratches that itch perfectly. There's something hypnotic about Kingdom 2 Crowns. The way it strips strategy down to clean, elegant essentials. You ride across a minimalist side-scrolling kingdom, making tiny decisions that ripple outward. Hire a builder, expand a wall, invest in a farm, and suddenly your peaceful settlement turns into a bustling little world. Knights bring danger, so every coin matters, and every choice carries weight. But the beauty is in how calm the game feels, even when things get tense. Exploration is peaceful, the pixel art is atmospheric, and discovering new mounts or upgrades feels like stumbling onto secrets in a fairy tale forest. Cooperative play adds a whole new dimension too. Planning together and dividing tasks becomes oddly satisfying. It's slow, thoughtful, and quietly absorbing. The kind of strategy game you sink into for just a few minutes and then wonder where your whole evening went.
Before your might, no enemies shall stand.
Some action games want to ease you in. Ragebound absolutely does not. From the moment you pick up the controller, it expects focus, precision, and a willingness to learn fast. The movement is sharp and responsive, letting you zip between enemies, deflect incoming attacks, and chain combos that feel almost balletic once they click. What really sets it apart is how each encounter feels like a tiny skill test. Not unfair, just demanding enough that landing a perfect sequence feels amazing. The world has that gritty Ninja Gaiden intensity, filled with tight corridors, towering threats, and bosses that push you to read patterns instead of button mashing. And in true modern fashion, the game rewards mastery with tons of mobility options and flashy techniques that make you feel increasingly powerful. It's fast, stylish, and tailor-made for players who love the thrill of improving with every attempt. If you've ever wanted a fighting game that feels welcoming without losing its competitive edge, Street Fighter 6 absolutely nails that balance. The presentation is bold and stylish, almost like a graffiti-soaked celebration of the whole series. What's impressive is how approachable it is. New control schemes help newcomers ease in, while veterans still get a deep, technical sandbox to explore. The drive system adds a whole new layer of strategy, letting you shift momentum with smart parries, rush attacks, and counters. Even the single-player world tour mode feels surprisingly robust, giving you a goofy RPG-like journey where you build a fighter from scratch. And of course, once you hop online, the rollback netcode keeps matches feeling smooth and responsive. It's a fighting game that understands the importance of flair and fundamentals, making every match feel like a chance to learn something new. There's a certain kind of magic Toby Fox games have, that blend of humor, mystery, and emotional gut punches wrapped inside deceptively simple visuals. Deltarune continues that tradition with a story that feels playful on the surface, but hints at something much bigger underneath. You're tossed into a strange world with even stranger characters, and part of the fun is figuring out who to trust and what's really going on. The combat takes the heart-based dodging from Undertale, but mixes it with party mechanics, adding layers of strategy without making things complicated. What keeps you hooked is the writing, silly one moment, reflective the next, and always full of personality. The characters stick with you, the music hits hard, and the world feels crafted with intention. Even though the full story isn't out yet, the chapters so far already show how special this adventure is shaping up to be. It's funny how a game about tiny plant creatures can feel more adventurous than most big-budget epics, but Pikmin 4 pulls it off effortlessly. This entry gives you more freedom than ever to explore strange backyard landscapes, dig through underground caverns, and rescue castaways with the help of your growing plant army. The addition of Ochi, your dependable dog companion, changes everything. He can carry items, smash obstacles, swim with the squad, and basically acts like a super Pikmin with personality. The day-night cycle adds a nice rhythm too. Calm exploration by day, and then Dandori battles and night expeditions that push you to think quickly and strategically. What makes it so enjoyable is that perfect mix of cozy collecting and clever puzzle solving. Even simple tasks like organizing Pikmin types or planning a route feel surprisingly relaxing. It's a game that makes little victories feel like big accomplishments.
With your Pikmin and Ochi by your side, you can tackle whatever challenges come your way.
There's nothing quite like the emotional whiplash the Yakuza series delivers, and Yakuza 0 might be the best example of that magic. Intense crime drama 1 minute, absurd karaoke brilliance the next. This director's cut keeps all the charm of the original, but presents it in a way that feels tailor-made for newcomers. You bounce between Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima, each with multiple fighting styles that completely change how you approach street brawls. The real joy, though, is wandering the neon-soaked streets of Kamurocho and Sotenbori, stumbling into side stories that range from heartfelt to outright ridiculous. There's always a distraction waiting: disco dancing, business management, gambling, training, underground arenas. It's a buffet of things to do. And despite the chaos, the main story hits genuinely emotional beats that stay with you. It's long, stylish, dramatic, and consistently entertaining from start to finish.
Nintendo Switch 2.
Every now and then, a melancholy action platformer shows up and quietly steals the spotlight. Ender Magnolia does exactly that. It builds on the style of Ender Lilies, but moves into a more hopeful tone, trading its predecessor's despair for something softer and more mysterious. You explore mist-shrouded ruins, glide through overgrown structures, and uncover stories of a world recovering from devastation. The combat feels quick and expressive, with a mix of melee and magical abilities that grow as you cleanse spirits and recruit them to fight alongside you. What really draws you in is the atmosphere: gentle piano themes, soft lighting, and environments that feel like forgotten watercolor paintings. It manages to be emotional without being bleak, challenging without being punishing, and always rewarding to explore. If you enjoy games that blend beauty, action, and quiet storytelling, this one leaves a surprisingly lasting impression. Some games feel like stepping into a storybook, and Child of Light embraces that feeling from the very first moment. The watercolor art, the soft glow of its environments, and the gentle storytelling all blend into this dreamlike adventure that's surprisingly emotional. You play as YoRHa, a young princess whisked into a fantastical world where everything, from giant creatures to tiny fireflies, feels hand-painted. Combat uses a turn-based timeline system that becomes wonderfully tactical once you get the rhythm, especially when you start juggling interrupts and buffs. What makes it special, though, is the atmosphere. The soundtrack by Cœur de Pirate carries so much warmth and melancholy that even simple exploration feels meaningful. And because the dialogue leans into poetic rhymes, the whole journey has this fairy tale cadence that makes it stand out from typical RPGs. It's soothing, charming, and quietly powerful in a way only Ubisoft's oddest gem could be. If you've ever played a Mario level and thought, I could totally make something this chaotic, Super Mario Maker 2 is your playground. It hands you every tool imaginable: blocks, enemies, gadgets, weird contraptions, and lets you design whatever madness or masterpiece pops into your head. The beauty is how approachable the creation tools are. You can build simple, classic platforming stages, or go full troll mode with Rube Goldberg contraptions and odd puzzles. And if building isn't your thing, the endless stream of community-made levels means there's always something new to try. Speedruns, Kaizo light courses, puzzle rooms, themed stages, completely ridiculous joke levels. It never stops. The story mode adds a cozy chunk of Nintendo-designed content too, showing clever tricks you can steal for your own ideas. It's endlessly creative, endlessly replayable, and one of the best make-your-own fun experiences on the Switch.
New modes, and lots of new ways to have fun.
Every open-world RPG tries to sell you on the idea of exploration, but Xenoblade Chronicles X is one of the few that genuinely earns it. Mira is this enormous alien planet filled with bizarre wildlife, towering landscapes, floating islands, and hidden paths tucked into every corner. Wandering feels like an adventure all on its own. The definitive edition brings the game to a broader audience with modern polish while keeping the heart of what made the original so beloved. Building up your character, unlocking new abilities, and eventually piloting giant mechs, the iconic Skells, creates this incredible power curve that never stops being exciting. The combat blends real-time action with tactical cooldowns, so fights feel dynamic without being chaotic, and the sense of scale, absolutely unmatched. Whether you're exploring for loot, hunting massive creatures, or just chasing the horizon, the world constantly gives you something jaw-dropping to find.
How much longer do we gotta keep fighting?
Every so often, a Metroidvania comes along that feels like it was crafted by someone who truly gets the genre's eerie, lonely charm. Axiom Verge is exactly that kind of creation. The world is dripping with sci-fi weirdness, glitchy landscapes, unsettling machines, and cryptic bits of lore that nudge you deeper into its strange underground labyrinth. What makes it brilliant is how its tools twist familiar mechanics into something new. One item lets you glitch enemies to change their behavior, another rewires parts of the environment, and suddenly, paths you thought were blocked open in unexpected ways. The exploration loop becomes addictive fast, especially as you backtrack with fresh abilities and uncover secret rooms tucked behind false walls. It's atmospheric without being overwhelming, challenging without feeling unfair, and full of those tiny aha moments that make the best Metroidvanias so satisfying. The first time you play Neon White, it feels like your brain is being rewired for speed. It's a rapid-fire mix of parkour, card-based abilities, and time trial challenges where every second matters. Levels are short but insanely replayable, and before you know it, you're shaving milliseconds off your best runs just to beat a friend's leaderboard time. Each weapon card doubles as both a gun and a movement skill. Maybe it's a double jump, a dash, or a ground pound that launches you forward, so half the fun is figuring out how to break the intended route and pull off something stylish. The writing leans into anime drama and humor, giving the whole thing a unique personality. But really, it's the flow that makes it unforgettable. When everything clicks, you're chaining abilities like a speedrunning superhero, and it's hard not to instantly restart just to go even faster. Some RPGs aim for nostalgia. Sea of Stars feels like it was handmade by people who lived those SNES era classics and wanted to honor them properly. From the moment you start your journey with Zale and Valir, the game radiates warmth. vibrant pixel art, breezy dialogue, and turn-based combat that rewards timing and strategy without ever slowing down the adventure. Exploration is lively too, jumping across rooftops, swimming through shimmering coves, solving little environmental puzzles, and discovering tucked-away treasures that make the world feel handcrafted. And then there's the music, featuring tracks from Yasunori Mitsuda that instantly scratch that Chrono Trigger itch. What really makes it shine though is how balanced everything feels. It's cozy without being simple, emotional without being heavy, and classic without feeling dated. It's the kind of RPG that makes you remember why you fell in love with the genre in the first place. Some action platformers grab you instantly with how smooth they feel, and The Lost Crown is one of those rare gems where the movement alone could sell the whole game. Every jump, dash, wall run, and time-bending ability flows together like a choreographed dance, making traversal just as thrilling as combat. The world is designed with that deliciously interconnected Metroidvania structure, where unlocking a new ability suddenly reveals shortcuts and secrets hiding in places you ran past hours ago. Combat has a sharp, rhythmic feel to it too. Juggling enemies, parrying attacks, and chaining special moves becomes second nature once you settle into the flow. And the style? Bold, energetic, and full of personality. The game takes classic Prince of Persia DNA and modernizes it without losing the adventurous spirit. It's one of those experiences where even backtracking feels exciting because the movement is just that satisfying.
And save the kingdom.
Every now and then, a game comes along that blends philosophy, stylish combat, and emotional storytelling so effortlessly that it stays with you long after you finish it. NieR Automata is absolutely one of those. On the surface, it's a fast-paced action game where you slice through machines as androids 2B, 9S, and A2. But as the story unfolds, you start encountering questions about purpose, identity, and what it means to be alive. Wrapped in a narrative full of twists that reward curiosity, the world shifts genres on you constantly. Bullet hell sequences, side-scrolling moments, hacking sections, and cinematic boss fights that blend seamlessly together. The soundtrack is breathtaking, one of those scores you'll want to listen to on its own, and the multi-route structure, it's designed to surprise you. Each perspective reveals new layers that completely reframe what you thought you knew. Every list needs at least one game that feels like pure, unfiltered chaos, and Shotgun Cop Man proudly fills that role in the best way possible. It's loud, fast, and gleefully absurd, embracing a style that feels like someone mixed an arcade beat-em-up with a Saturday morning cartoon and forgot to hit the brakes. You play as a cop with a shotgun for a head, and from that point on, the game commits fully to its own ridiculousness. Enemies fly across the screen, explosions happen for reasons no one questions, and the movement has this frantic energy that keeps you bouncing between targets non-stop. Each stage escalates the nonsense in new ways, introducing weirder enemies and over-the-top scenarios that somehow feel perfectly normal by the time you reach the end. It's unapologetically silly, endlessly entertaining, and the kind of game that exists purely to make you laugh while you blow stuff up. And that's the full lineup. 30 Switch games, totally worth the money. Which one are you grabbing next? Or which one already owns way too many hours of your life? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this countdown, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and happy gaming.